PSS. This is a new series that I'm trying out on the channel. PSS. Play, Sale, Skip. Basically, this is a format I want to use to discuss and look at new games that come out. I don't want to do reviews. I don't want to do something too traditional. I want to try and do something different and unique. Today's video is about Chronos Before the Ashes. In this video here, I'm going to be telling you whether or not you should play the game, wait for a sale for the game, or skip the game, hence the PSS. New concept I'm trying out. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you're a new viewer, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. I make new videos like this every single day, looking at the latest PlayStation and trophy news, so hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date. Now this video here is going to be focused on Chronos Before the Ashes. This is a brand new THQ published game that came out last week on the PlayStation Store. The game launched in the US for $29.99, so it did come out as a budget title. I do want to say and point out off the bat that I was given a review code from THQ for this game, so keep that in mind with all my views and opinions and thoughts on this game. Chronos Before the Ashes is actually a prequel game to Remnant From the Ashes. I had to think about that for a second. It's interesting because the two games share literally nothing in common with each other. It's really hard to believe that this is even from the same series. I know the resetting stones or the checkpoint stones are the same, but apart from that, I didn't find too many similarities from those two games. They do meld the future sort of modern apocalyptic setting with the fantasy setting together. The two of them do that, but the art style from these games is completely different. The gameplay style from these two games is completely different. So if you're a Remnant fan, which I was, Remnant being another third-person action game that came out a couple of years ago, if you're unaware, then it's hard for me to even recommend this game to you because I don't think it plays anything like Remnant does. Remnant does have sort of a Souls-likey gameplay loop to it, but not to the same degree that this game does. This game very much is a Souls-like game. Very much a Souls-like light style game, I would say. But it's strange that they went in such a different direction with this game compared to the first. Now, there could be reasons for that I'm unaware of. I was told that this actually initially was a VR game that came out on PC. I never played it in VR, so maybe it was designed in a very specific way to work in VR and take the concept from Remnant and translate it to VR. And then obviously when you pull that game from a VR game to a flat screen game, it might feel a bit weird. So maybe that's the reason that it doesn't have the same sort of feeling that Remnant had and same sort of gameplay loop that Remnant had. Either way, they're very different games, so if you're going into this one with that on your mind, I think kind of just diminish that expectation. The game is very much a third-person Souls-light, I would say. You do the same thing with slow and fast attacks, dodging, and shield abilities. Enemies pack a really heavy punch, especially in the harder difficulties, and your attacks don't do nearly as much damage as they should. It feels like a Souls game. It has that Souls loop to it. But overall, the game itself is fine. I think it played decently well for what it was trying to do. It didn't do anything amazing. It didn't do anything groundbreaking, but it was relatively competent in what it did. Now, initially when I started and played this game, I really didn't like it. I started it and played the first few hours of it, and I very much disliked the game. It starts with you on a beach and you have to go and explore this facility, which is set in the present day or the future times. Then you go through a portal and you get transported into the more fantasy settings of the game. That whole first section of the game and that first level of the game, I really did not like it all. I thought, you know, I'm not going to be able to finish this because I don't enjoy this game, and I didn't dig it at all. But somewhere after the first boss of the game, I really started to gel with it and started clicking, and when that kind of clicked, I sort of started getting more addicted to it, and then I couldn't put it down after that, all the way through until the conclusion of the game. It's funny how that sometimes happens where you play through something and you're just not vibing it up until a certain point. I was finding early on in the game I wasn't using my upgrade points and things like that very well, and ended up just keeping on getting my ass handed to me by enemies. And it wasn't until I defeated the first boss that I realized I could change weapons and I could upgrade my weapons and upgrade my abilities. And when I did that, the enemies started getting weaker and I started getting stronger, and the game started becoming less frustrating and more fun. I changed from the sword to the hammer. The hammer is very satisfying to use. The animation when you use the hammer is so cool. You feel like Thor swinging this thing around. The charge attack is so cool, how he slams it down the enemies. I found that really neat. I think they did a good job with that. The sword I wasn't vibing at all, and yeah, it just didn't suit my playstyle or how I like to play these games. But as soon as I switched weaponry and started upgrading the weapons, I definitely started gelling with this game a lot more than I was before. So glad I did, because sticking with it, I'm glad I played through it. And it's not the best game that's ever come out. It's not the best game that I'm gonna say you should go and check out immediately, and I'll give a score at the end of the video, obviously, but I think it was worth the time I spent with it. Story-wise, I literally couldn't tell you anything about this game. You go to a facility at the beginning of the game, you're told you need to go and kill a dragon, and then your quest to do that is pretty much the rest of the game. As you progress through, you basically need to go through these various, I would say, like, pretty linear environments, very much like a Souls game, how they kind of double back onto each other, so you'll be opening doors and paths and stuff to kind of loop in on each other. So sort of open world, but not really. It's like small open world or linear open world to a degree. You'll solve puzzles along the way. A number of them are very convoluted, like the Souls games are, where they don't tell you anything, you just have to kind of figure it out. Most of the stuff found relatively simply. There wasn't too many puzzles that kind of stumped me and stopped me, especially when you start thinking the way that the game thinks and you understand how it works and operates. Then everything becomes a little bit simpler in terms of puzzle solving and gameplay mechanics. But narrative wise, I have no idea anything beyond what I've just told you. The game doesn't really allude to anything. One of the cool things the game does do that I've never seen a game do before is it has this aging mechanic where your main character ages every time he dies. So every time your character dies, he ages 1 year. Initially, it just changes the physical appearance of your character, so he slightly gets older and older as you age and progress with every death. But that also actually affects your stats and your stamina as well. The older you get, the weaker you get. Like, you get stronger to a point, and then you start getting weaker again, and your stamina starts decreasing, as I guess is what would happen as you get older and younger. You start the game at 18, and I don't even know what the final age you can get to is. I never got that far. Your stats get changed every time you age, so not only does it benefit you to a degree, but it also hinders you too. And then every time you age to a round number, so at 20, 30, 40, 50, you gain a stat point or a stat boost, essentially, where you can choose to, you know, increase your weapon attacks or double your XP or something like that. So you do get these perks as you hit these age milestones for dying a certain number of times, but then also your stats get diminished. There is a bit of a fine balance in there as well, in terms of how many times you die versus what stats still remain good and what stats kind of remain bad. It's a unique system that I've never seen implemented in a game before. It's kind of weird, I guess. It doesn't really make a huge amount of sense why you would age a year every time you die, but I do like the aging mechanic and stats changing as you age. I think that's a cool mechanic that could be implemented into more games. Whether or not it actually has anything to do with your death in the game, I could take it or leave it. But I think it's a neat sort of concept that not a lot of games have ever tackled before. Now, in terms of visuals and everything, this game doesn't really have too much going for it. It's got I don't know, it's almost like a Fortnite-y art style, but without the light color palette that goes with Fortnite. The art style didn't do a huge amount for me either. Neither did sort of the enemy design or any of the designs or anything like that. And that's probably why I was initially really turned off by this game, because none of these things really hook you and attract you into the game, especially if you watch the trailers for it. There's nothing there that's like, oh yeah, I need to jump on this. The gameplay loop as you progress through the game and start gelling with it is probably what hooks you more than anything. It's that killing an enemy to get an item, to upgrade your item, to make you stronger, to make you better, whatever it may be. It doesn't have that risk reward thing that the Souls-like games has, apart from obviously the consequence of death being that you age. But the gameplay loop itself is sticky enough that it does keep you sort of coming back, or at least it kept me coming back for more and more as I played it. I don't think there's too much more profound stuff or non-profound stuff that I can say about this game to, you know, convince you one way or another. So my final thoughts on this game, whether it's a purchase, a sale, or a skip, is I would probably wait for a sale for this one. I think the game itself was decent enough. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you're into this kind of genre of third-person action, Souls-like type experiences. I think you need to go into it with a mindset that it's going to be a very budget experience, and I think the price point currently is reflective of a budget experience, but I think it can be reflected a little bit further. I think if this game is a bit cheaper when it goes on sale, it's something I could recommend to people, but at full price, you know, the game only took me about 8 hours to finish. It didn't take me a very long time at all to finish my first playthrough of the game. It did require multiple playthroughs for me to get the platinum trophy though, so you do need to play through the game a couple of times. I think you can probably avoid that, but that's for another video. So yeah, my final verdict on this game is to wait for a sale, pick this game up a little bit cheaper when it gets discounted. And if you go into it with that mindset, I think you'll have a good time and I think you'll enjoy it. Let me know what you guys thought of this format of video. Let me know what you think of this PSS concept that I want to sort of take off the ground here and explore games in a slightly different way, give you my opinions, give me feedback on them slightly differently. I also have a trophy guide and roadmap for this game, which will be coming out on the channel probably tomorrow as well. So stay tuned on the channel for that one as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this game. Let me know if you've played it or you've played Remnant in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this video, give it a thumbs down. And I'll see everybody in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.